The words genius and super producer get thrown around a lot in music, but there's one producer who has iconic hip hop songs with 21 Savage, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Travis Scott, and many more, as well as incredible R&B songs with SZA, Rayvn Lenae, and Brent Fiayaz. And you might not be familiar with this person because they don't make beats, they make art. This person paints like Michelangelo and is one of the greatest producers alive today. That producer is DJ Dahi, and something he said blew my mind, which I'm going to share with you in this video and will totally change how you see music. But first we're going to break down 6 of his best tracks, starting with SZA, Used.
Yes, I've been used to being used like this.
DJ Dahi has actually spoken about how he made this beat on a stream, and he's given us some insight on the specific plugins he used.
If you guys want to find like retro sounding drums, I'd say use UVI Falcon,
which I wasn't familiar with, but now I have it. So I've added the Beat Anthology expansion pack that he used with the Afropop pack and made these drums, added a pitch down guitar loop from my sample pack with some nice reverb, and got this SZA vibe. So that's one vibe you can go with making SZA songs, but I've also made another one with the same drums. I've just added my own hi-hat and these granular arps from UVI Falcon. There's also this bass plugin from UVI Falcon called Soul Bass, which is really sick. I used it too. I've got this nice granular arp, but enhanced it with all this atmosphere texture from my pack that gives it real sparkle and character. Another thing that DJ Dahi says he does in every track is use a mellotron, which I find really interesting because that's an old instrument associated with the Beatles and Strawberry Fields Forever, and it has a very specific sound, very retro sound, because it uses tape loops across the keys of recordings of notes of instruments. And if you choose to use that, you're choosing to go for that retro vibe. But Dahi is adding plugins and pedals and different effects to change the sound and make it new but still have that retro vibe, which is super cool. That'd be a bit like using Stevie Wonder with his notable use of the clavinet. But instead of going for that 70s vibe when you use it, you're adding different plugins and modern approaches to production to totally change it, but still having a bit of that retro vibe. It's just not as obvious. The next artist is Kendrick Lamar with Money Trees.
Me and my niggas tryna get it, yeah bitch. Yeah bitch.
Which is very famous for its beach house sample, which uses atmosphere texture of birds in the beginning.
With this particular one, I as soon as I heard it, I just like the sound of the crackly sound in the beginning and just like the way we kind of built in.
And if we listen to it here. Which famously he reversed and made an incredible beat with it. But the thing is, that's quite an accessible thing to do. All he's really doing is he's got some atmosphere texture such as birds. I'm using Kids in the Street here. I've got some chords reversed from my sample pack. I've got some risers, drums from my pack, an ordinary 808, and actually some weird noise. Wait to hear this. If you don't have something quirky and interesting in your beat, it's not doing what DJ Dahi does. It's not enough. He always has something interesting. Like, I bet you've never noticed the cowbell in Money Trees.
You know, I just added just snares, cowbell.
But when you bring that quirkiness with all the stuff that I previously mentioned together, you get this. Essentially, that's doing all the things that Dahi does in Money Trees, and it works. That's a great combo of stuff, and you should definitely try it. Everything you're hearing in this is from my Sonic Texture sample pack. Also, I'm doing one-to-one coaching, so if you want direct help with your tracks, let me know. The next artist is Drake with Worst Behavior, and it's actually Dahi's voice in the track singing the melody.
They used to never want to hear us. Remember?
Dahi is a big fan of using his voice in tracks. You hear it on Loyalty with Kendrick Lamar and Rihanna, this track Worst Behavior, and 21 Savage a lot, which I'll speak about in a minute. He does this to insert himself into the music, and I think that's what sort of separates him. He's not making type beats, he's putting his spirit into it with including himself into the art, and I think that goes a long way for making things feel more special. Definitely try this in your own productions. Use your voice to sing with auto-tune like he does. Hand claps and shouting is other stuff he does. And it all just brings so much life to the track. As I said about 21 Savage a lot, DJ Dahi's voice is in it.
Brick up, jam, I brick up, jam.
This style of hip-hop sample DJ scratchy vibe is quite hard to achieve, but UVI Falcon actually has an expansion pack called Scratch Machine where you can do all of this hip-hop type stuff. It's crazy. Now let's talk about 21 Savage properly with his song A Lot.
How much money you got? A lot. How many problems you got? A lot. How many people?
In this Genius interview where he talks about the song, we learn that he's added atmosphere texture of somebody talking on what sounds like a radio.
Just a bunch of crap, but it just sounded cool.
So you still have a problem with the rear hack still? So you still have...
And reverse percussion, which takes this regular trap beat into something way more interesting. And if we take my drums from earlier and add the atmosphere texture, the reversed perk, and some fun percussion like the cowbell stuff I mentioned before, it makes a massive difference. This injects so much life into the beat, and is part of the reason that DJ Dahi's production is so special. The next artist is Rayvn Lenae with Love Me Not.
See right now, I need you, I'll meet you somewhere now.
That first bit in the intro is this stretched out granular sounding thing, and it has some tambourine, and if you listen really closely there's like a guy sort of mumbling quite quietly, and it moves into this nice Motown inspired beat, and that's what I think is really interesting about this track. It blends modern with Motown. To try and replicate this, I've used UVI Falcon's soul drums and soul bass, as well as their strings with a viola and violin. But that's only part of the puzzle. The other bit is getting that very granular sounding weird sound and those nice tambourines, which I've actually used some tambourines from my pack, and the mumbling, I've used some atmosphere from my pack and vinyl crackle. This one is a bar talking, but if I play my version, so when we break that down, the granular stuff is coming from UVI Falcon with some really nice presets that are spread out. The thing I think Dahi is doing is actually taking the MIDI, reducing it by half, recording that, resampling it, and then stretching it back out and maybe using the different algorithms. That's really cool and gives a lot of that texture, but I think these patches that I've picked are achieving that same thing anyway. So it really depends on what method you want to go to achieve this effect. The next artist is Brent Fiayaz with Gravity. I've made a full video on Brent before and people seem to love it. It's got 120,000 views, so check it out if you haven't. I spoke about Gravity then, but I didn't actually go into detail about the drums. This song is really interesting because it uses a pattern with the kick, snare, 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 instead of the traditional kick, snare, kick, snare. Across the different sections of this song, there's multiple different interesting drum patterns. It's very sick, and that's a big part of DJ Dahi's approach. NAVIE actually has a full video talking about DJ Dahi's drum patterns, and I'd recommend checking it out, as well as all the other great DJ Dahi tutorials. I'll link them in the description. Also, if you're interested in UVI Falcon, they have a sale on at the minute. It's some really high quality stuff. I totally understand why DJ Dahi swears by it, and shout out to UVI for sponsoring the video. Now for the Dahi part that blew my mind. Normally this is the part of the video where I say don't copy the artist, just be inspired by them and mix it with your own techniques. DJ Dahi is actually impossible to copy because he said himself he doesn't think he has a sound, he has a texture.
I guess I don't really feel like I have a particular sound, but I have a kind of a a texture.
To me, that's what makes him light years ahead of all other producers, because most people can't say that. He's injecting so much life and character into his music that it's indescribable. It's not replicatable with type beats. This is something we should all keep in mind when we're making music, to try and develop our own texture. That's something I've spent a lot of time working on, such as my sonic texture sample pack. I've literally dedicated years to studying this idea of texture in music and made multiple other videos trying to teach people how it works. If you want to learn more about that on a one-to-one basis, I'm doing online coaching. So if you want help improving your tracks, let me know. And as ever, thanks for watching.